Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Life, L.Y.F, stands for Love Yourself First. And I'm here with my guest, Chase Anthony. How you doing, Chase?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you. Chase is an actor, comedian, and he starred in a web series called A Whole New Irving. Wait, A Whole New Irving as Irving Miller, and also co-stars right now on BET Plus on a show called Bigger, where he plays Dion.
Hey.
Yeah, Dion.
Yeah.
He also opens for the comedic legend Sinbad. So we want to start about talking about your life and how you first started off in this business. So how did you get started in this? Did comedy come first or did acting?
Um, I, for me, I think it's kind of different. I think that you're doing comedy and you're you're doing certain gigs, but they're not like paid comedy gigs. Like once you get paid, you're like, oh, okay, these are paid comedy gigs. So I was doing more comedy, but I got paid probably first from acting, doing commercials. So it was, yeah, I don't know. It's like a strong tie because I was doing comedy every day, every day, but you weren't getting paid for it, but you were paying to do it sometimes, or sometimes you're just doing it for free on a paid show, but you just wanted to get up because you got to get those, you got to get those hours in, you got to get that muscle memory. And with the acting, I take a gang of classes, improv classes, and all them. And I think improv probably booked me my first commercial. Probably along with comedy though. Comedy also helped because I think it helps with your comedic timing, along with the improv classes, and then ta-da. So I'll say comedy, but acting paid me first.
So when you said that you were doing comedy every day, like how were you doing that? Like what were those avenues? Were you just showing up at shows? Were you just acting a clown out in public? Like what were you doing?
No, so comedy is um it's almost like a club, I won't say or organization per se. And you kind of start your way in the mailroom, and the mailroom is kind of doing open mics. So you'll go to open mics, and based on what people kind of see at open mics, they'll be like, oh, okay, cool, I'm producing a show. Or you'll start out with bringer shows. So for me, I had a career before I got into comedy. So sometimes when I was on a bringer show, I had people, you know what I'm saying? I had people that I worked with, because I did accounting, like I had people that like just wanted to see like timeout. Like, I know you've been funny at the office or probably not here to work. That's probably why you don't do that anymore. But so it kind of starts in that realm. You kind of get used in comedy, and then you kind of find your voice, and then that's when it starts kind of clicking. And for me, I was blessed because like you said, I got to go on the road with Sinbad. So I have been doing gigs and some college shows and stuff like that. And then um, because of my relationships, I get a call one day after performing in Aruba with Sinbad because somebody didn't make it. So also comedy is kind of like when you said, do you just show up and all that? Like comedy sometimes is that being on the spot, because like you said, going through this thing called life, people ain't feeling good, people get pulled over, whatever it is, people just running late. That's who they are. A wife doesn't argue or a husband arguing with a wife. Like you never know what the dynamics are. And so sometimes I've been Johnny on the spot in a couple occasions where, it's been a blessing and a curse because there was a time where it was definitely not ready. And that you get exposed. So like it is that kind of that communal people that have already made it and already elevated start to kind of snatch you up based on either your routine of them seeing you, or based on just where your talent level is, it'll just be like, all right, bet, well, I need you to get down. But sometimes that also can be a crutch, because you go on the road with somebody and you're quote unquote funnier than they are, then now you kind of put a wedge in between you. Me, I was fortunate enough, like, I was on the road with a legend, so I'm chasing a ghost. There's no way that you're gonna catch him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Out of all people, there's no way that you're gonna catch him.
Right.
So get that out of your mind, be a student, learn, absorb all the game that you can, see how he moves, see how he operates. That's gonna make you a better professional. The comedy, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he'll let you know. But again, because of my teacher, he's that like, nah, I don't want to hear none of them jokes I've ever heard. Go out there and talk. And you're like, what? No, I'm not gonna do that. That's what you do. And he's like, nah, that's what you doing tonight. Or else you
Mhm.
fired. And you're like, wait, what? Nah, I'm just kidding, or am I? I don't know. Like, go out there. You're like, no. Like, no. And he was like, I'll sit right here. And so
Mhm.
when you see somebody, one, pushing you to fail forward, you know what I'm saying? I think that that's something totally different than anything you're gonna learn in a class, going home and studying it, anything that you can just be in the background of. He's like, nah, man, go out there and get shot a couple times, man. They might laugh, they might not. I don't know, man. But I'm gonna be sitting right here, and that right there, I think builds you into a comedian. That idea of, hey, this is gonna work or this isn't gonna work. And so I would say, like, those hours mean something, but when you really step out there and you're functioning from that space that's pure,
Mhm.
and that's why they say, comedy is that the last pure form of entertainment expression,
Right.
because it is like the things that you get to talk about, the things that you get to express. Sometimes that's not necessarily in a joke format, and that was what he gave for me. So that's when I say my road to being a comedian at that point was that of that kind of interaction. That was that day that it was like, all right, cool, I'm a comedian now. At first I thought it was gonna be the paycheck,
Mhm.
and then it turned out to be more so like, cool, you elevated when you can go out there and he's on the side like, oh, that's funny, and it's based on the conversation that y'all had, so he knows it's real.
Right.
Now you get to see that the audience know it's real. And that's when I would say, for myself, that's how I became a comedian. It was the other hours, it was all the other routine, it was all the other writing. I got the Tupperware things and notebooks,
Mhm.
because you're expressing thoughts. You don't know what to say, you don't know when to say it, you don't know how to say it, you don't know if you're saying it the right way in the right tone. You're like, somebody help. He's like, I'll show you how to help. Go out there and just talk.
And
And
just
if
do
not, I'll talk about it. And you're like, nah, but that's not how this works. And he was like, well,
it.
we talked about it. So I'm going to talk about it, or you going to talk about it. Which one?
Mhm.
So
So, do you think you've learned mostly improvisation from him, or like what advice has he given you that's really worked out for you as far as his profession?
man, if it's so much. The biggest thing that I got from him is how to be present. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a very personable person,
Mhm.
but he's not unaware of what everybody is going through. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So the biggest lesson I got from that is just be present. Don't be, this is one thing that he actually did tell me. Don't be too cool to be a comedian. Don't be too cool to live life. He was like, you've lived a totally different life, and you've been able to reinvent yourself in different ways. So, but don't be unaware of this, because this is where you come from. So when I say that, that's how to tip, how to talk to people, how to move in the airport, how to interact. Not be above anybody, not be unaware that somebody did work for a week. They got a babysitter, they got dressed, they did all this to come see you, not for you to half-ass it, take a night off, second guess it, not interact with them or feel like you above, feel like you too much. Like that's the thing that I've seen, you know, with some of my peers as they elevate. It's that disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've seen for myself as far as the history of comedy. Once you lose that disconnect, then you kind of now there's a line between you and your audience, and you a person. So
Right.
all the money in the world don't change that. We come, we go.
Right.
The thing. So
And
just
that's one
think.
thing I can say about Sinbad. Just meeting him a couple of times, like he's very personable. He does take the time to, shake hands and kiss babies and things like that. And I definitely see that in you too. So that's definitely something great to take on and pass on and continue to do. Because I do notice a lot of people don't do that.
Why not? Like what in a lot of ways I've seen privilege. I can say that I'm a fan of people, but that idea of thinking that somebody is better than me, I think that I don't know. That's just not the way that I'm programmed. So I just don't approach life like that. Like there's times where I can definitely see like, oh, okay, cool. You ain't as a person, but that
Mhm.
don't mean that think that I'm better than you.
Right. Hmm. And I think
But
your longevity goes into it also. Like people, when you're more likable, people want to go out and see you. Like look at The Rock, he's the people's champ, you know? So, and after he works those 16, 17-hour days on set, he still stops and says hi to the people that are waiting for him outside just to catch a glimpse of him, and that's how he's lasted as long as he's lasted.
man, so and the funny thing is, so in most of my meetings, they'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, like career wise, who would you say?
Hmm.
And they're assuming, and I get it, Sinbad, because I go on the road with Sinbad, but it's
Right.
like, no, The Rock. And The Rock,
Right.
for so many different reasons, because The Rock came from football and he had these dreams and ideas that that was where success was going to be. I came from football. So I had these dreams and these ideas of success that that's where it was going to come from. Then
Hmm.
you start seeing that, oh, okay, cool. Either my body's not going to take this or mentally, this isn't, I'm not prepared for these parts.
Right.
And so then you transition into something else. So he went to wrestling, I went to comedy. And then, when you're thinking about yourself as an actor, some of these things can either help or hinder you, right?
Hmm.
So this football, your football mentality, your idea of what a win looks like, your idea of success, it can go into this thing. And so he moved it into wrestling. And then I'm seeing with comedy, but then I'm also trying to see like, oh, okay, cool. Based on this, how many have done this? And when I look at comedians who are actors, my idea of success, sometimes is contingent on what I thought I saw them accomplish. Now is based on like, oh, okay, cool. My idea of success is success, is winning. It's just like a football game. I'm gonna
Hmm.
prepare, I'm gonna execute, I'm gonna get better. How am I gonna grow? And then there was one day I was driving down Highland going into, like, I already had this mentality, but sometimes you do need that, either that burning bush or that confirmation that like, oh, okay, cool. Like you're not crazy. You're not crazy for
Yeah.
thinking this. I'm driving down Highland and they have 3 billboards there. 3. I think 2 of them are digital, I want to say. He's on all 3.
Wow.
All 3.
Hmm.
All 3. He hosts Titan games. He's
Hmm.
done the Tooth Fairy. He's done Game Plan. He's done all these movies, but they were all, you could see is growth in each one. You could
Right.
see like, all right, boom. Well, I'm here now. I got this confirmation that I'm doing something legit, and that I'm validated in it. Cool. I can make up my idea of success, and that's just more so just keep winning, just keep getting better.
Hmm.
So that's when I see his, and you see the work, because you see him also transform his body from, hey, I'm a wrestler, to, hey, no, like I'm The
I'm a
Rock.
beast.
Yeah, I'm the Rock. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And so for me, I've seen those, but he's seen that from football.
Mhm.
Totally different. And then his body aesthetically looks totally different. So now I bought into the comedy thing where it was just like, all right, well, cool. As long as I'm funny, I'm good. And then it's like, well, you're trying to go here. So you got to think more like a Michael B. Jordan type workout plan versus like a Cedric the Entertainer workout plan. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
there's variables, and no shade to Ced, but Ced's not going for that.
Mhm.
Ced is already appealing for what he's going for, but that ain't your lane.
Right. So what is your lane? Are you trying to be into like the sex symbol, aspect of it? Like where are you trying to go with that?
I think that for myself, it would be ignorant not to take advantage of these times, right? So if my body can produce these results and there's any inclination that that is something that's going to help, not hinder, then why not? But it also goes back to just living a healthier lifestyle. Like doing comedy, it's easy to have terrible habits because it's late nights, your sleep schedule, your sleep pattern just is all over the place. Working out sometimes is the last thing that you're thinking about doing.
Right.
Acting sometimes allots that time or a little bit more routine schedule to where now I can get back into it. But it's also just a lifestyle choice. It's like, yo, longevity wise, there's a reason why LeBron is still playing right now. And that's
Hmm.
because of what he invests in. That's his body. And so now I'm just more so going for that, and if it appeases a
The
certain,
ladies.
yes, um, then no, I mean, I'm all for it. I think that this is the time. If not, then when? It's like, oh yeah, well, now you're sexy at 50 and your back hurts. So good luck getting in shape. It's like, nah, be in shape right now, bro.
Right. Start now, the foundation. I get
Or
it.
go back to the football mentality. It's like you do have muscle memory, so you do have routine. You do know how to work out. You do know all this stuff, and you were
I didn't
happy.
know you played football. Like where did you play for college?
I Okay, I'll give you a little background.
Uh-oh.
I played football and ran track in high school. I had some offers in college, but couldn't qualify because I was f***ing up in high school because of outside things.
Mhm.
And so I ended up going to a JUCO. I played a year there. Then I transferred to Concordia D2 school, and was playing there, and then got into my coach, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff that was going on about a lifestyle that I was living that probably was educational in a lot of ways, ignorant in others. But you can't take it back, and it definitely, I think, has somewhat helped have a healthier mindset now in my 30s. But um, yeah, no, it was a football career that had potential, but I think just mentally, it wasn't the time.
Right. So in college, you studied accounting.
No, actually, in college, I studied kinesiology.
What is that?
That's the study of like growth and development of humans, pretty much, and
Oh,
muscle
okay.
movement. Because at first, I was going to try to um, go into being a sports agent.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. What is the track of this? And it's like, all right, cool. Well, let me learn about the development of muscles and there's just humans. So then, I know how to spot talent a little differently. I know how to move a little differently. I know what things you can do to the body and what things you can't. So that was the track that I was going on. And then again, the whole things with the football coach and all that stuff kind of imploded my life. But then that moved me to California, and then being out here with a lot more structure at a probably late age, I will say. Um, but it kind of guided me towards that. So I ended up going to UCLA and taking some classes there. And again, I think that I'm blessed, so that's why I just kind of get out the way. I just was fortunate enough to have bosses at the company that I was working for, which was an entertainment payroll company,
Mm.
who they wanted to have come speak. So they weren't supposed to let me in this program because it was past dates. And again, like, I'm trying to transfer credits from Minnesota and all this. And so it's just like, it's a kind of a mess, but I'm like, I just kind of need these classes. Like, I'm not trying to go for overall, I just kind of need these classes. And so they had to have, of course, a meeting and all this. And then when they said, hey, well, he works here, well, they was like, well, if he can get them to speak, then boom, boom, boom. So then the presidents of the company, and VPs, they came and spoke at the class, a little drunk, but they came. They had just came from a client dinner. And so they were just like, hey, and I was like, oh, they faded it. And then I ended up taking those classes at UCLA and getting into accounting. And then that's when it all came, and then all kind of crumbled all at the
At the
same time.
same time. Wow. Okay. So you said you took improv classes.
Yeah.
Like, do they make you do outrageous things like, like I picture Coming to America, like bark like a dog, a big dog, like, are you doing those type of things? What are you doing?
It's to be honest, improv is just listening.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That like well that, again, that was the I went to the Groundlings, and I will always give them a shout out because, again, like I said, they helped me book my first commercial just with exactly what we did in the class the day before. Went into audition, that was exactly what we were doing in there. It was a Taco Bell commercial, but they had us do this thing called space work. Like, they want you to feel it. So they were like, all right, cool, we want, if you're grabbing a box of shoes, you got to feel it. Like, feel that space. It has weight, like it has all that. So if you're opening it, where are you opening it from? Where are you holding it at? So, but you have to be listening to what somebody else is giving you, to for you just not be stuck in your information, because
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna give you information too. And I did the space work, and I was listening to, again, what they were saying. And so, yeah, it wasn't more so on some bark like a dog. They stretch your imagination. So um examples that they'll give you, they'll be like, okay, cool, we need you to do a character. We need you to come up with a character. We need you to know kind of what their wants are, what they like, what their voice is like, but somebody that you know. So what they did was, they'll have you go up and they'll have you be this person, and then they'll have somebody else in class go up and be this person, and so on and so forth. And then at the end, the teacher will be like, okay, cool, I want to put you guys on a date. So now you have to come in as this character, and they're coming in as their character, and then they put you guys on a date.
Mm-hmm.
But you usually don't listen on a date.
Right. Yeah.
But now we're these characters, so all we have to listen, but we also have to stay in the characters and all that. So it again, it just stretches it a little bit. Or while you're standing there in front of them, they'll tell you who this character is, so now you don't have the time to necessarily build it out. You're like, all right, well, bet. So my favorite one that I always use as an example from from the class, that was like, oh, okay, cool. And then as a Black man, I think that you kind of also gotta be mindful of what you're putting out there, because I mean, most of the time in the improv class, you're probably one or two
Mm-hmm.
Black people in the class. And they had me do one that was called, you want to be you're an expert talker, right? So when you get up there, you're a specialist in whatever they tell you that you're a specialist in.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got up there, they're like, Barbie dolls. And I'm like, damn, how you gonna give me something like this? Barbie dolls?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to flip it, because I was like, okay, cool. As a Black man in this predominantly white class, I can't, on this adventure, I can't emasculate myself, because I still got to be me outside of this, right?
Right.
And that's my human element to everything that I do. They're like, you can go so far, but like, it's still you. Like, you still, like, you got to drive home. You're gonna be thinking about this. So um I was like, okay, bet. So I went totally left. I was a general in the army, But in order to calm myself down from shooting people in war, I played with Barbie dolls. So then they make you come with this whole backstory of like, like why and what. And that was the time that one, I had to challenge myself because I'm talking about Barbie dolls. I do have sisters, so I'm aware. So I'm pulling this information from somewhere, but I'm also trying not to necessarily get put in this box.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was challenging me. And then that's when the teacher even pulled me to the side, like, yo, like, I appreciate that you didn't try to go this flamboyant, easy route.
Right.
Because you're a man talking about Barbie dolls. So this is probably the easiest way to go.
Mm-hmm.
He said the fact that you made that a stress reliever and you still had G.I. Joes there. He said, he said, I could tell you were having fun with it when the conversations were going on with the Barbie dolls and the what's the name. He was like, but you were in it. You had your space work. Everything had what's the name. You were pulling their arms out, sitting them down, and da da da. He said, that's what you do, and you're letting your imagination stretch. And I think that's what you need for comedy and acting. But I don't think that any of those help with improv, which was the craziest epiphany. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Can we cuss on here? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Leave them out. I do apologize.
It's all good. So, your first time hitting the stage was in California?
Yeah,
Okay. How did that go?
I blacked out.
You blacked out? You don't remember any of it?
None of it. I thought I went to the bathroom.
And you walked off stage.
I walked off stage and my cousin, like, he was like, oh, cuz, look, man, that was funny. I was like, what was it? And he did his phone like this. And I saw myself up there holding the mic and I just got sick.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there and I just started sweating and I'm like, oh my God. And then the whole way home, he was like, you don't want to like talk about it? You don't want to see it? And I was like, I don't know. I'll watch it in a little bit. And I remember watching it and not being able to hear, just seeing the movements and like, okay. Cause I never wanted to do comedy. I never wanted to act. I never wanted to do any of those things just because I was able to see early what changes came along with it. Like people knowing who you are and you're not knowing who they are, like that already is, or people thinking that they know who you
Right.
are, all those things, or people's agendas or your family's agendas or people's ideas of you or what you can give them or what you like. I got to see that at 21 with some of my homies and I'm just like, yo, I'm good. Like I don't want nothing to do with it. And then after that day, I was addicted. I'm talking about like addicted. I was there every day, and I wanted to get better. My contrast though was I was just coming from accounting, so my struggles didn't look like the other struggles of other comedians. So it was already sometimes different because I look like I come from this privileged place and I think eventually once people hear you on stage and it's like, oh, okay, well, nah, let me stop judging him because he's saying some way realer stuff than I'm even willing to say on stage.
Right. So if you didn't want to get on stage initially, what brought you there? Like what was it, a dare? What brought you on stage?
So I was good at my job, but I hated it. Right. So once I
Mhm.
became an accountant, I got money and then I found out money wasn't really my motivator. Like that wasn't my motivating force. That wasn't gonna keep me there. And I had just come into so much from working, but then working long hours, not having time to spend it, just watching it stack. And when you're doing something legally um, and this is everybody else's career path, you start getting this information like, oh, okay, well, next year or in 2 years I can double this just by bringing on a little bit more work. So you're like, all right, bet. And I started getting depressed. And
Mhm.
then I was doing that whole, because we're in California, you're in Florida, so y'all probably do the same thing. Like you go out there and you get a little bud and you sit on a rock and you're like, God, talk to me, tell me
Mhm.
what I'm supposed to be doing. And a couple of days after that, Not that I have problems with authority, because I don't. But because I wasn't willing to conform to necessarily the aesthetics of a accountant, it's like my education has nothing to do with my outfit. I'm a young black man. I want to dress like a young black man. We're in production. That was a feud. So like first it started with coming in early. Then it was like, oh, okay, we gonna need him to do more work. Okay, we're gonna need him to do this. We're gonna do that. And then eventually, I butted heads with one of the other head people, and it was just like, I got an opinion, you got an opinion, and then that was my last day, because again, his
His
opinion
opinion
mattered.
outweighed yours.
Yeah. And so, then I got to also see that. I got to see how somebody else can necessarily dictate your future, or think that they did. But then my aunt hit me and was like, well, what are you thinking about doing? I was like, well, maybe I might try acting, something like that. She was like, well, because she went to school for it. So I think she was really saying
Okay.
herself. But she was saying, like, people went to school for this. So like there's no way of skipping the line.
Right.
But
You
there
have to put
is
in the
some,
work.
yeah, there is a way of catching up though.
Hmm.
And you're not going to catch up because there are certain things that are just ingrained in them, but you'll get the tools that maybe you will bring yourself up to speed. So I was like, what? And she was like, but the quickest way for you to catch up is by doing comedy. I was like, well, that I'm about to go back and ask for my job. Like, I'm about to go ask for my job back. Like that comedy, no. Because like in our community, like culturally, we that's how we interact. So me and my homeboys, but I didn't never think that I was the funniest one of the clique, because I got one homeboy who tears every
Yeah.
time he talks, tears, tears.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is, it's tears. And so I was just like, what? And then I was like, yo, don't not see, don't not try. Like that's the last thing you ever want to get, because you can't reverse this, and then you can't say, all right, cool, I went back and got my job, and then 10 years later you're like, hey babe, watch these kids, I'm gonna go try to do comedy. Like
Hmm.
right now you don't have any of these things holding you back. Why not try?
Right.
And again, I blacked out that first time at an open mic,
Hmm.
and then after I watched it, I went back that second time and I was addicted.
Hmm. How did you actually do when you actually looked back at it? How did you do? Did you get the laughs? Did you get the boos? What happened?
I got the laughs. I got the laughs, but I was talking so fast. I was like, because they give you like a little pocket of time,
Right.
and so you're just trying to get it out. So I was talking over the laughs and everything. Like, nah, that don't laugh. Like I got more. I gotta get this out. Like you can laugh in the car. Like
Right.
that don't even make sense. Now
Right.
I would rather go up there and get a laugh that just lasts, or one big laugh in that small pocket of time, and go on about my business. Like, but yeah, it was a tricky role. But then also too, my role was a little differently too, because you start finding out that like I don't necessarily look or fit the part of a comedian. So you're like, you're not odd. You don't seem like you've had any hardships in life.
Hmm.
It's like, well, don't let my outfit fool you. Don't let what you think my complexion, or aesthetically what you think this is. And
Hmm.
then but it also challenges you. So there's a couple of comedians who have put me on the game and was just like, well, think about it from this way, and you have to address this.
Have you been heckled before?
Yes.
How have you handled that?
Um, the first time, I think that I handled it well, but internally, I didn't like the way that I felt while I was still up
Hmm.
there. Because I remember it. I'm at the Comedy Store in the front room, and a dude says, "Oh my God, look, it's Nick Cannon," right?
Hmm.
And no disrespect to Nick Cannon, but
All
it's like,
right.
no, I'm not no damn Nick Cannon. Like,
Right.
no shade, but I would have Will Smith. I would be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Mr. Independence Day, it's me, baby. But Nick
Mhm.
Cannon, I didn't want to be drumline at the time, so my response was a bit aggressive. But it was
Mhm.
just also too. It's like you know, it's that undertone of you know, I'm saying like I I'm cut from a different cloth, so we don't have to necessarily. And then the fact that it was another comedian, but
Mhm.
so it was a bit aggressive response. Now, um, I think that I'm just a little bit more equipped, because and then being on the road with Sinbad, oh my god, um, somebody had a heart attack one time with
Oh
him.
my
I
God.
shut down, and then fast forward a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm on stage. Like you know how sometimes we'll be on stage
Yeah,
together.
together, right.
So the first time, that's what happened. So he's up here, he's handling it, massaging the crowd, making sure everybody don't freak out. And I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm standing here and he's making fun of me freaking out, which is probably helping the audience a little bit, but I am freaking out.
Mhm.
Fast forward, now it's just me on stage. He's in the back. And he gets on stage like, man, you handled that thing like a champion, man. Look at you. Da, da, da. I said, no, that does not. I don't want that response. He was like, nah, man. He said, I remember that one time, the last time somebody had a heart attack in the audience. And everybody's like, the last time I was like, yes, he said the last time. The last time I freaked out. The last time I freaked out. And we had to, it was so it ended up being that, but that is a different kind of heckle. Then the lights have went out, things are like falling, other people pass out, people run up in there looking for somebody. Somebody has gotten a text or like a phone call, so it like kind of changes the energy in the room because
Mhm.
they were like, and then everybody's like, all right, and then they just get up and once anybody sees tears, that's kind of that pattern, just like laughter, you know,
Right.
it's that snowball effect. And
The
so,
transference of energy.
hello, you're like,
Mhm.
uh, should we just call it a night? And everybody else is like, nah, bruh, like
We need to
you ain't
change this
ending my
energy.
night like that. You
Right.
better clock in. That's what you better do, funny man.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Too funny. So I know you said The Rock is one of your influences. Do you have others?
I think Will was the first one where
Mhm.
because he had a show where it was just like, okay, boom, like so you can go from this part of the family and then go with this part of the family and kind of get a little polishing, a little bit more information, a lot more resources, and boom, boom, boom. So just that was kind of somewhat of my track. So when you get into it, you're like, all right, cool. Who looks similar? You know what I'm saying? Like I can't say, oh, I'm gonna be like Wesley Snipes. It's like about that. Nino
Right.
Brown, only Wesley could have pulled that off.
Mhm.
Okay, like it just the energy that he gave off. It's not to say that you can't give off this or that or this, or that you can't portray this, because I think that is also the fairy tale of of how we look at society. Like we can play something like, oh, well, they're this person because they look like this. No, no, they ain't. Actually, I know they packaged it well, but they still ain't up on all that packaging.
Right.
Um, and so I went for kind of that, and then I think you start seeing different people that you start to admire. So like somebody like Jeffrey Wright, um, man, I've seen him morph into all kinds of characters, and you can't help but admire like those qualities. And then you look up to somebody like who's still in your same age bracket, but like a Michael B. Jordan, because you watch him go through his transformation, or watching him on The Wire, being on soap operas. So you respect the hustle too, and to see
Mhm.
what they've accomplished, but also too like the work don't necessarily define the next job. And that's what I liked about him. Like even the fact of playing superheroes, like he played in Fantastic Four, totally different than when he played in Black Panther.
Mhm.
And so seeing all those things, which is also totally different than Creed, like just even those levels of that, you know, it just, those are the things that you start to kind of not necessarily admire, but you start to notice. It's like, okay, cool. This black man's able to accomplish this. This man's able to accomplish this, and these are some of the similarities. So, cool. I can strive for this because they made it realistic. They made it a tangible goal.
Right. Okay. So, what do you think is the most challenging part about your job?
Hmm. Um, I'll say there's been two for me. I think that it might be different for um, everybody else. I think that there's um, the idea of transferring kind of your system or your ideologies on things because it's kind of how you wired. So because I had a career, there'd be times where it was easy for me to question myself or kind of be bombarded with this idea of what I'm not doing or how this doesn't have a routine, how this doesn't say, hey, it's this step, this step, this step, and then this happens. There is no structure. There's you're just doing it and you don't know. And you may never know. And you so that was one of the hardest things to kind of undo, that muscle memory of, hey, you go to college, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then these are the rewards. So at first it was just like even the days. So also too, I'm talking to other comedians and they have never had a job or never really worked anywhere
Mhm.
seriously. And so you know, you already have impeding. They like, why are you up so early? Why are you ironing your clothes? Why are you caring about this? Why are you caring about that? Which you find that now both of y'all are kind of helping each other. They're undoing things for you and you're undoing things for them.
Right.
So that was the hardest one. And then I think the idea of success. Like, I think everybody's idea of success is differently. And I think until you can really break down your idea of success, you'll never be successful. And so for me, success was success is something I've already achieved because I've done somewhat the impossible. For me to transfer and put all my energy into comedy, acting, writing, and to bear fruit from it, that was my idea of success. As soon as I saw myself on TV, I was successful. So the first commercial was success. The first time I got a standing ovation was success. The first time I got paid from comedy was a success. Everything after that is extra because I've now seen it. So now I can start to enjoy it and enjoy the journey versus, oh, once I'm have Oscars, and then once I've sold this movie, or once I've done this, or once I've done that. It's like, yo, what if that never happens? Right
Mhm.
now, you got evidence to say this, and that's what you were first chasing. Now you reworking your idea of success. No, you're changing your goals. That doesn't change success.
Right.
And I think that it's easy to get caught up in those things because it's self. It's such a individual like it's you. It's a personal journey. So everything that you learn, everything that you see, how you absorb it, how you process it, that's on you. But comedy is self, characters are self, like and that strips away even the athletic element sometimes for me because it is a team. I'm used to passing the ball, so that is improv. Sometimes that is acting, because you're used to working with others, you're used to passing the ball. But sometimes comedy, it's a totally different element, and then you're sitting alone, you're using your life,
Mhm.
you're digging into places that, like, you're playing with fire potentially. So again, if you don't have a real good handle on your idea of success, playing with that fire, you're gonna consistently be burned. It's like, well, no, if I'm already successful, then I know I need to wear a whole little suit. You know, now I got my name on it. So when I go, I know it's my suit. This is the fire suit. Boom, got a little fire extinguisher. You know, you can go at it differently because now you have tools. But it's a tangled web, and that's why I was glad. And then I think quarantine kind of helped really, you know, funnel it down to kind of really sitting in it and embracing it and being okay with it. And it's kind of been a breath of fresh air more so than anything else, because you haven't slowed down to even see this. You're still caught up now with these new ideas of success.
Mm.
um, and so this has probably been the best thing for me, and I'm for a lot of other people, but you know, probably not for others.
Right.
I started to feel bad for him at like midway through. I was like, yeah, you know, it's been good for me, and then you know, it's been bad for others.
Yeah, for a lot of people, unfortunately. But I mean, for some people though, I'm hearing a lot of what you say, you know, that they've focused more on what's more important, you know, as far as their family, as far as, you know, taking time to figure out what your goals are or what your next steps are, you know, especially since a lot of people are in that rut, like you said before, they don't like their jobs.
Mhm.
So what am I going to do to make myself happy even after that job, or make myself happy, or transition into a new one, you know,
Right.
into something that they want to do more. Like, truth be told, this whole thing right here, me starting this podcast, me talking to people like you know, that's something that I've wanted to do for a while. So it's definitely helped people step up their game, especially when things slow down a little bit, for you to focus on those things. But we mentioned before, you talking about Michael B. Jordan and how he transitions from one role into another. Now, is there a role that you want to get into? Like, is there a different genre that you might want to take part in?
Um, to be honest, and I'm open to all of it. Like, I want to do the voiceover work, the animation. I want to do the Disney stuff. I want to do the gritty stuff, the dark stuff. Because I think that one, I'm not necessarily limiting myself, but I've went on those adventures several times in things that I have interest in, you know what I'm saying? So whether it's sci-fi or whether it is this dark comedy or whether it is something that is more so this biopic where it is taking you on this journey of, you know, kind of what we're experiencing later in life. So I don't know. I'm kind of open to all of it. Period pieces. I will say, if I could sing more, or if I could find my you know, uh, what is it, my chord or whatever it is, then I would go into musicals and all this. Like, I think that was what Sinbad kind of was embodying, was like, you know, don't be too cool
Mhm.
to enjoy yourself. Like, I think that we have our guard up as Black men so much that sometimes we get stuck in one version of us, and I've been that version. And he had good intentions, but how am I going to enjoy it with knowing that all these other things are already stacked up against me? Let me open my mind up to actually enjoy my career, have a career with purpose, but not necessarily with the ceiling already where it's like, well, I only want to do this, I only want to do this, I only want to do this. I do want to make sure I stay in my lane with stuff that is kind of still true to some of my spirit. Like, you know, nothing that, again, like what we were saying, that taints me away from this.
Mhm. Let me find out you want to be a Bridgerton. I could
Hey
see
man,
that.
listen, I'll go
You're
and
the
take,
cousin of the Duke.
I'm all about it. I am all about it. Put that little part in my hair somewhere, you know, the little
Yes.
thing, I'm with it.
I could also see you doing maybe like a superhero role. I mean, I know the Black Adam was already taken. The Rock's got that.
Oh yeah,
But
no.
which way would you go?
To be honest, I potentially want to do the Green Lantern. John
Really?
Stewart, yeah, is the Black Green Lantern. He
Hmm.
came later in the cartoons. Hal Jordan was the first one,
Right.
which was played by Ryan Reynolds. But
Hmm.
um, the black one is John Stewart, and that's who eventually gets his ring. So um, yeah, I eventually want to do that and hopefully grow from there. Or Black Superman. Oh, I have a Black Superman over there, Superman 23. Um, but yeah, I'm down for those just because again, like that's kind of our era. That's what we grew up on. Those were the cartoons that we got to see. Those are the comic books that we were reading. Those were where our imagination was stretched. So it'd be dope to be in a position to stretch the imagination along with it. And I have nieces and nephews, and one day maybe kids, but for them to be able to see that and go on that adventure and you stretch their imagination, and I think will definitely be dope.
Uncle Chase in tights. Yes.
No.
So I have a question. Is there anything you would have done differently when you first started out? I mean, I know your route was a little different than most people's. So was there something like, man, I should have went this way instead of going that way? Maybe I should have taken this job instead of taking that job.
mm, no, to be perfectly honest, as much as I have in the past, definitely like, oh, I should have did this, I should have did that, I should have did this, I should have did that.
Mhm.
Um, I've always found myself recognizing the blessing in it, right? So as much as I thought that I missed, I end up learning probably even more. So that's why I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That wasn't an L. And if it was a lesson, not a loss. So it's like, all right, cool. Um, but I think that it also too just keeps me from a place of greed, right? I'm not going without right now. So it wasn't for me, or it wasn't something that hindered me. And I haven't went without. I've had moments, but truthfully, like I wouldn't be able to make it here. You truly go without, like then you don't have nothing, you died. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, so you've survived all these different things. I think that those are the calluses that you kind of need. And then the time that I've had to check myself, and I kind of been on a good track since then. Um, well, I was on a good track, and then this was one because like everything else was going good, and so I was like, oh, I want this too. And it's a Kaiser Steph Curry commercial. And originally I went in for the Steph Curry part. And I was
Mhm.
like, I know I don't look like Steph, but this would be a fun part to play. Like
Right.
just with the dialogue, how it was. So I had fun with the thing. But I had just came off like doing these working with I think Sinbad, then doing college shows. Like so it was just like a week of greatness. And then I had just booked something else. So I was like, oh, if I can book this too. Da, da, da. So when I got there, I had landed. My girlfriend at the time picked me up, drove me straight to my audition or to my callback, did the callback. I'm walking out and it was like, hey, would you mind staying and reading for the coach? And I was like, yeah, I'll read for the coach. Right. At that moment, it's like, bro, that means they like you. So they're finding something for you. Whether it's
Mhm.
this or whether it's that, they just want to see what you bring to it, or to see if this is just one speed that you have. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, okay. So I'm calming myself down before I go in while I'm learning this dialogue. And then I'm like, you know what? It's a blessing to book anything. It was a blessing to get this call back. These are the blessings. These are wins. The fact that they asked you to read something else, that's a win. You won already. Right?
Mhm.
Boom. Now we driving. Me and my girl at the time are getting something to eat. Get the call. Boom. You booked it, but you booked the coach. Right?
Mhm.
So you almost want to go over here with this energy, and then you over here like, nah, you just coach yourself and told yourself that's a blessing. So see it as a blessing. It's a blessing. Boom. So they're telling me the wardrobe stuff. So we go over there and they're like, all right, so we're doing a wardrobe, we're doing this. They was like, oh, okay, cool. We need you guys to go see hair and makeup just to make sure that y'all are ready for the shoot tomorrow. So I was like, all right, bet. So they set us both down. They got the people walking around us trying to see what's up. Da, da, da. So the dude that I'm seeing play Steph, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It actually makes sense. He kind of can play in that vein, right? Because they were trying to convey a sick Steph Curry, right? So I was like, all right, bet. So then they're like, okay, I hear Clippers come on. And I'm like, ain't nobody finna cut my hair, right? Because I'm seeing all these white women. No offense if they are watching this. No offense. I think that everybody is talented in their own right, but I get nervous. And they cut a bowl in his head. So now I'm instantly like, you're the coach. You're the coach. You're the coach. You're the coach. Coach doesn't have a haircut. The coach doesn't have a haircut. And I'm like, I'm good, right? They was like, oh yeah, no, honey, you can go ahead and go. And then they told him, hey, we'll just finish this up tomorrow on the shoot. So he has a mushroom top on his head.
Right? Oh my God.
Like, what the hell, right? They don't give him a hat. They don't give him nothing. So now there's little kids in the commercial too. If you go back and you pull that commercial up, they pulled it since the coronavirus because it was a flu commercial. And so the kids are looking at him as he's going out, right? And I'm trying not to like really buy into these kids' energy, but it is pulling me. It is pulling me. So then fast forward, the next day we show up to shoot. So they're like, all right, boom. So they start fixing this. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, right? They're doing my makeup. They was like, oh, you really need night makeup? So I'm sitting there just kind of just like laughing and kind of chatting, right? And they're like, okay, are you ready? I'm like, are you ready? Yeah. And I was like, what? And I turn and look, they cut off half his eyebrows. And I'm like, oh
my God.
So at that moment, I was like, yo, bro, like, this is all the confirmation that you want was for you. You don't want nobody else. You don't want nothing more, nothing less. You just want what's for you, and everything is a blessing.
Oh my God.
It all is a blessing. Just because, again, it's like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't have done that. And me being confronted with that, I don't know what that would have looked like on the other end of me saying, like, no, y'all not cutting off my eyebrows. Well, we can't shoot the commercial. Well, we're not shooting the commercial.
Wow. I hope they told that brother that before they actually started.
I don't know. Again, that's why I say, like, man, I'm now, I just get out the way. Everything is a blessing. Even the lessons I'm enjoying my journey. And I think that's the confirmation, the biggest part. Yeah. And the biggest lesson or the biggest advice I would give to any and everybody is like, enjoy the journey, enjoy today.
Have you been recognized on the streets yet for any of your roles?
I have, and it's been different. I've been at some place, especially with the commercials. Like the commercials, I've been at a bar and the commercials come on. Or I've been at the gym and they had one that was playing, and then somebody look at the treadmill and be like,
okay.
Like, all right.
Any indecent proposals or anything like that from
Man, I mean, you seen the video that I posted the other day where the girl, like, so it's happening, and to be honest, it's a form of love. So I I embrace it as long as there's no too much aggression,
right.
But no, it's entertaining at times. That one was probably the most entertaining.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
But no, I mean, I just take it all as love, and I'm thankful that anybody watches and shows love, because they definitely don't have to.
Yeah, definitely. Out of the characters from the two shows, A Whole New Irving and Bigger, which character do you relate to the most? Because they're both very relatable characters.
I know. I probably would say there's parts of both. I say there's parts of Irvin as far as like that epiphany of you graduating thinking, or going to school and thinking that everything was supposed to work out because you're following this blueprint. And then seeing that just life ain't so black and white. Those things I identify with Irvin, and then just that whole corporate conundrum, like the idea of, hey, you're gonna go to this job and then you're gonna climb the corporate ladder and you're gonna do this, and it's just like, well, no, like, remember, Chase, you tried that. You tried the same thing and it was never good enough because, it is a boys club or it is a system set up, not necessarily in your favor. So these are the realities. So those are the things that I saw with Dion. But other than that, Dion, um, no. Some of the other stuff, I'd be like, this man, the fuck up, God. And then the same with Irvin. Sometimes with Irvin, I'd be like, this Irvin, what now what are you gonna do? Now what are you gonna do? Okay. Do it with a smile. Why are you so angry? Both of them have a little attitude that like I just don't have anymore. But I know that dude. So he stays close. But I try not to be that angry.
Yeah, I see a lot of positive notes coming from you all the time on your social media, like uh, all these positive memes and things like that. So I see you more on that level of energy right now. So I don't know that other guy, but but
Oh
this
yeah.
one seems to be more elevated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we all, got a journey, and I think that it has the ebbs and the flows. I know you have a military black background, so I think that we all have layers, and I think that if we're okay shedding some of those layers, using like a snake reference, I guess, I think that you give yourself room to grow. So for me, I seen that it just takes way too much energy to be that angry every day. It's
It
like we
really
already
does.
dealing with enough.
Every day. So, have you thought about getting into other aspects of entertainment, like maybe producing, directing, writing,
All of them.
all of them? Have
All
you
of them.
started any of them?
The writing, yes. The producing, probably on some off-brand, helping here, helping there. Directing is something that definitely, but I'm letting it manifest, I guess, when and where it's supposed to, just what the right thing. So I don't mind getting a little bit more experience on one side of the camera, just so I know how to articulate things on the other side. And I think that there's a difference between writing something and watching somebody else, someone else understand what your words mean versus being in the place where now you're doing both. It's like, no, when I was writing this is what I meant. Um, so it's just all the information I think that I have on one side, I think will help with both of those um, on a behind the camera.
Okay. Well, that's all I have for you. I really appreciate you coming out and speaking with me. I know it's early there for you. Well, now it's 12,
Now it's
but
done, yeah.
but I do appreciate it. Do you want to give everybody your social media handles, your website?
At Chase Comedy across the board. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not on there as much as I probably should be. I'm more on the Instagram than anything because I like funny videos and boxing videos, and sports videos, and all the other things that come with Instagram. And I didn't know that there was this dark side of Twitter, but yeah,
I didn't know either.
yeah, me either. But you start finding out when they start tweeting you. But yeah, at Chase Comedy on all those, and then chasecomedy.com is my website, and I will be updating everything on there soon. So yeah.
You have any future projects you want to tell them about?
I mean, we still got season 2 coming.
Yes, season
So
2.
I don't want to distract anybody from that because we need all the eyes, ears, and love to go towards that. But also, I'm excited to see what season 2 looks like.
And what happens with Dion, sorry, Dion and Lane, and what
Helene.
they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm curious to see, and I'm curious for everybody else to see their reactions to this season, because the love that we got from season one was amazing.
It
Like,
was a great show. Well, it
yeah.
is a great show.
In season two, they stepped it up. Like, it was like, oh, okay, y'all feel love. And then the fact that we shot it during the quarantine or during the pandemic, like, it just,
Yeah, that definitely had to be interesting.
oh my
I,
God.
I saw your COVID tests
Oh my
on Instagram. That didn't look fun at all.
God. No, no.
That and you guys were quarantined the whole time too, right? So you just had to be in your own little bubble.
Which was different being shooting in your hometown. You know, I'm from Atlanta,
Mm,
so my whole family
true.
is there.
And you can't see them.
So, which is
Wow.
sometimes a blessing. But if you're watching this, I missed you.
I know that's right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us on life and have a great one.
Thank you for having me, and you too. And blessings to all out there.